call this meeting ordered. Number 2, discussion in regards of Logan County TIF District Number 1. Who wants to start? I'll tell you my concerns as right-of-ways, the $100,000 fee for tapping into a public line, and I want it to be a public line for everybody.
North and south.
If it ain't that, I'm out. So whoever's next, I'm ready.
I'll go ahead and talk.
Okay.
Bruce Johnson, City Manager, City of Guthrie. I was very fortunate last week to have a conversation with all engineers involved. Mr. Pearson was also available at that meeting. Dan was also available at that meeting. And I kind of let everyone know where the City of Guthrie's stance was, and also kind of what our vision is for the future. Not only the site just to the east of I-35, but also what you're speaking of, both to the north and to the east of Highway 33. I think first and foremost, alleviate the two issues that you addressed, and I agree completely that the City of Guthrie desires, and I think everyone else desires from the conversations I've had, is that we have public sanitary sewer collection available out there for all businesses going in the future. And that has been my outlook and my thought process ever since I've taken a look at the agreements and heard of what steps have been taken to this point in time. The City of Guthrie owns 80 acres north of the Love's acreage, but we also want to make sure that any businesses that want to develop along Highway 33 to the east have the ability to have sanitary sewer in the future. I know that I've given direction to our engineer to have communications with both Valero's engineer and to Love's engineer concerning gaining the necessary right-of-ways or easements to have additional sanitary sewer flow both to the south and back east and to the north. I've been in communications with Steve, and I've been in communications with Valero concerning what we would like to see from behalf of the City of Guthrie going forward. And at this point in time, all engineers are working together in order to bring us back a map to show what additional sanitary sewer could be available both to the north, to the south, and to the east. And I have been in communications with everybody involved, and will continue to be in communications with everybody involved to see those things be addressed and come to fruition. Those are the desires of the City of Guthrie. Probably going to be the desires of the county and the desires of the Logan County Economic Development Council also, to see as much business out there, to meet as many jobs as we can out there, and finally have as much sales tax collection out there that would help both Logan County and the City of Guthrie. When it comes to the $100,000, I'm not as concerned about that at all. For two reasons. One is that our agreement with Love's is going to be valid into the future, where we're going to pay $150,000 to them to have the sanitary sewer line brought underneath I-35 and over there to their site. So we're going to be in that contract, and we're going to make sure that our commitment is also going to come to fruition, and they're going to be paid for that portion of the sanitary sewer line. When it comes to the portion of the $100,000 that was put in there and negotiated by my predecessor, and I definitely understand the thought process behind it, but I'm not as concerned about that because we're going to pay our portion to make sure that the sanitary sewer line is over there. But I have some concerns myself with that, is that if I decide to tap into that future and develop the 80 acres to the north, whether or not I'm going to pay myself $100,000. Or if we have another business that comes in later on down the road that maybe goes to the south and the east, if they're going to pay the $100,000, and I'm not too worried about having them pay the $100,000 because we're going to be committed to our $150,000, and it's odd in my mind that I would have certain people tap into our collection system and pay $100,000, but I wouldn't have the same person that may be tapping in on our line south along Division pay the $100,000. So there's an equity issue there that I personally am not going to have anyone pay the $100,000 in order to put a tap into our collection system. I want to treat everyone fairly and everyone equitably, and at the end of the day, the city of Guthrie will still honor its commitment to Loves and the county on this project of the $150,000 to make sure that that line is over there and that it's available for everybody involved in the future, and that's what we have our engineers working on at this point in time.
So is the council on board with you on this?
I think so. I don't think that at the end of the day, I think our mindset is long-term growth of Guthrie and sales tax, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't honor our commitment that's currently in the agreement. And I believe the council is more than happy to honor their commitment and to try to grow the area out east of 35. They have a commitment of a water line out there that we put in for Langston and Coyle. So we'd like to see the growth out there in that part of the county also, because at the end of the day, we both know that business is going to grow along where there's cars, and there's cars along I-35.
And 33.
And 33, correct.
So Dan, is that something we could put in the contract, that there wouldn't be this fee and that we're going to have easements around Love's property?
It wouldn't be appropriate to put it in the contract with Love's regarding the $100,000. That's something that I think the city needs to give you something in writing to that effect. But we can certainly put the easements that the engineers prescribe for us, put that in the contract. At least as far as Love's is concerned. Now, I think there's also an issue of whether the property owners, the Valero property owners, need to give the county or the city an easement to make sure that the line can continue on past their property. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't talked with any of you three about this, but I'm not sure of the fairness in requiring easements from Love's to make sure it's a public line, and then also not getting the same commitment from Valero. That would be a separate agreement between Valero and the city. Perhaps.
And that's what we're working towards, is that we have that from everybody. So until we know exactly what we're looking at, and that's the process that we're in right now, seeing where they'd be located and how and what depths and what size and those types of things. Because like I said, I'm looking, not only for this project, but I'm looking for additional projects down in the future. I want to make sure that it's sized right, it flows right, and it's available for everybody to the north and the east and the south of it. So, and that's my goal.
So are you going to ask us to restructure that agreement we have with the city then?
Maybe not, if it's not restructuring the agreement, maybe it's an additional agreement, or something to that effect. So.
Because you say you're going to honor that agreement, but
Yes.
not charge it $100,000?
At this point in time, that's kind of my goal, is not to charge $100,000, but to pay you guys the $150,000 that we have in the additional sections of the agreement.
But that's not honoring the agreement.
Well, it is if we, at the end of the day, you guys are expecting $150,000 out of the city, correct?
At the end of the day?
Yeah, so that's what we're going to honor, is to pay the $150,000.
But with the time value of money, though, that's totally
Sure.
different.
Sure, and that's something we can definitely negotiate.
Time out, fellas. Hang on just a second.
Can we get your name?
Steve Walters,
With
Loves.
Dan, I had another question.
Yes, sir.
We got some people that'd like to know how come the trust is involved in this project instead of the Board of County Commission. Could you go over that?
You bet. A public trust has certain powers under the Oklahoma Constitution that a city or county do not have. And it's no different from the Guthrie Public Works Authority or many of the industrial development agencies or authorities around the state. When there are agreements that run beyond the current fiscal year, covenants that are made which require action beyond the current fiscal year, your public trust authorities can do that, can validly undertake those contracts in Oklahoma, whereas cities and counties are only limited to the current fiscal year in terms of what they can promise. it's considered an unlawful debt if the county were to make a contract saying it would do something in a subsequent fiscal year where it has not gone to the voters and been approved by the voters of the county. That being the case, the Oklahoma Local Development Act requires the use of a public trust to implement these kinds of projects where they're necessarily multi-year projects. This is going to be a payout of at least probably 3 to 5 years in terms of the money that Loves would receive. The county could not lawfully do that. You three, with your commissioner's hats on, can't make a promise to pay beyond the current fiscal year, whereas you three, with your public trust hats on, can. And I know it seems to be a distinction without a difference, but it's one we've honored in Oklahoma for well over 50 years.
Thank you. Y'all got any more questions?
I have a few. Number one, just a statement, but it appears that we may have a little bit more time because it looks like it's going to be sometime in December before Loves is able to open its doors, so we have a few extra, maybe a month or something, to do all this in. And then let's see. The other item I would assume would be David Jones. Now you have easements there that you will be donating to, basically giving to the city of Guthrie. So
That is correct.
okay, so that'd be on the eastward bound as well as the southbound.
That is correct.
That was basically my input on that.
Mervin's got some questions here.
I have a couple. Just to follow up on your comments, the description of why the trust was involved, was that ever discussed and elaborated on or enumerated on during the study for the TIF for this project?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and that was a part of the study. It was outlined in there.
Well, it's
How the trust would be involved and
it was a given that you would need a public trust authority.
right.
And the commissioners directed us at that time to use the Logan County Public Works Authority.
Okay. So I'm relatively new to what's going on here. So what I would really like to understand is what the trust's involvement in this TIF is. I hear people talking about contracts and $100,000 here, $150,000 there. I've got no idea what we're talking about here. Is there a copy of that that's available for review, or?
Be happy to provide one.
I would
for you.
I would certainly like to be able to review that.
Let me summarize it for you. Loves has asked the city and the county to both participate financially in the costs, the extraordinary costs, I think, of running a sanitary sewer line under I-35. The city has agreed to do that and has made a written contract with Loves to provide for the $150,000 that Bruce mentioned. What we're working towards is finalizing an agreement with Loves that would implement the project plan adopted by the commissioners last year relating to the tax increment district. The project plan calls for the payment of $150,000 also to Loves, not in one payment, but over a period of time. As I mentioned earlier, this would require payments probably of between 3 to 5 years. We don't know yet because we don't have the assessor's numbers, but once we get those assessor's numbers on the Loves project, we can be more definite about it. But we would expect it to take several years, and in fact, your current fiscal year will expire before Loves would ever pay a dime in ad valorem tax on its new facility because of the way the lag works with ad valorem taxes. So you just, as a practical matter, you can't do this as the commissioner. You can try. You run the risk of a taxpayer lawsuit if you do that, however. And I think the personal liability for the commissioners, and I'm not acting here as your attorney for the commissioners because the district attorney's office represents the commissioners. But those kinds of efforts wind up with bad endings, where the commissioners ignore the constitutional prohibitions.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm so concerned with ignoring any constitutional.
Well,
What I'm concerned about is first of all, what I hear is that we couldn't, the Board of Commissioners put the TIF study group together, and the Board of Commissioners are the ones that sponsored this project.
That's correct.
Okay. After that, things kind of got dark as far as the public's ability to understand what was going on, because I'm one of the public. I was just elected, and I still don't know what was going on. I still don't know what happened. I still don't know what we're doing here, and I'd like to find out. So if I could get a copy of that written out, I appreciate your summary, but let me explain my point. I think the citizens of this county should bring a lawsuit if this county is spending tax money, ad valorem money, which diversion of tax money or spending money without a vote of the people, I believe is an atrocity. So I think that they would be well within their rights to look at this sideways. We need to explain to the people of this county what we're doing. My next question is to representative from the Guthrie. I got a question about your 80 acres north.
Huh?
You said that the city owns that, is going to develop that property?
Correct. At some
Develop.
point in time, hopefully, if we can get some jobs in here.
You own property up there?
Yes,
80 acres?
correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, let me urge the commissioners, when you put your commissioners' hats back on, to have a conversation with the district attorney's office. I'm a poor counsel for the commissioners because you are well represented by the district attorney's office. These questions with regard to why the county can't do something, I really should refer you to your assistant district attorney to answer those.
My question wasn't why the county couldn't do something. My question was, why is the trust involved in this? That was my question.
And the answer is because the county can't do it.
I got that.
And so ultimately, the answer is why can't the county do
Mr.
it?
Attorney, if you're going to represent this board, I would like for you to provide me with the documents that I've asked you for.
I'd be happy to.
Your summaries, I appreciate your summary, and I'm finished with my questions. Thank you.
Be happy to do that, Commissioner.
Any other ones?
I'm good.
So, city's on the same page, we're on the same page, we're gonna have easements, it's gonna be a public line.
That's what we're working towards, this, sir.
We have a few months to do it in.
Okay.
I do have another question.
Uh-huh.
Did Love's, I guess my question is to you, Mike, did Love's have an agreement with you to work on Midwest Boulevard?
There was a verbal agreement like I have on many roads. Do you normally have a contract for like Devon to put gravel on your county roads?
Well, I'm not going into a TIF district with Devon.
Well, the TIF district goes up to Midwest.
I guess this would be my question, if this board decides not to follow through with the TIF, what's gonna be the status on the road?
It'll be there. The total thing with the TIF is that we pay for 1/3 of the pipe. Devon, in its altruism, is also fixing Midwest and doing a real bang-up job of it, by the way. I really appreciate the quality of work that's going on Midwest right now, but that's for their trucks to be able to enter into their compound. The Midwest was not a portion of the TIF district. The property is.
So
But
Devon's
as
working on the road?
Devon has hired the contracts, and they're the ones that are building that road. Is that, you're saying that's a violation? Is it a violation for Devon to put rock on road?
Devon's not working on that road.
I understand that.
Well, you
Love's
just
is
said they
working
were.
on that road.
You just said Devon was.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if an entity wants to work on one of my roads, then I can give them verbal permission to work on one of my roads, and I have done that.
Well, let's make it clear though.
Okay.
Loves is working on that road, Devin is not working on that road.
That's true.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion? Troy, you got anything?
No, I came in a little late. I was trying to get other stuff done this morning.
We appreciate that.
Alrighty, any old business come before the board?
Not today.
Any new business?
Not today, sir.
Consideration of possible action on adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. We're adjourned.